All right, so in the last class, we learned how to model this thing to this level. And you actually remember that I turned off my subdivision. So if you turn on the subdivision, you actually see how smooth it looks. So, but we will need to turn it off because it will help us to model it more easily. So now we are here, and the last thing we tried doing was to actually make this to become a bit more rounded. So that's where we stopped. So I'm going to enter back into that, and I'm going to just click on L and L here, and we'll try to scale this out a bit more and just scale this out to this side. Now over here there are several things we could do to solve this problem here. The most effective thing that we're going to do for this one, let's make sure everything is joined together. So one of the most effective things we could do is to actually use a circle to do this. But if you're going to use a circle, we have to work on it in such a fashion that it's going to blend in here. So before we even do that, let's try out something. Look at over here, I'm seeing some overlapping edges here. So I'm going to select this, and this one I'm going to try to bring them down. So you can, if you want to select beyond something, you have to use the X-ray here. If you click on this, you can see through it, and you can be able to select everything here. And I think I also need to get my vertices. So click on that and just drag it in like this. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so have this here, and there is a little problem that we're having over here. So we're going to try to solve that particular problem by using circle here. So I'm going to go back to edit mode now, and I'm going to delete everything here to make it easy for me to work on it. So I'm going to press L here. Let me see. Okay, this everything here is selected. So I'm going to just select this face here, and I'm going to use select more. That's control plus number plus. Okay, the numbers pad plus, you can actually use the numbers pad plus or the normal plus. If you have turned on your uh, if you turn on this, you can be able to use your normal numbers for the plus. Let me show you what to turn on. If you actually go to your input, you turn on this emulate numpad. Once you turn on this, you go over here and you actually save this preference. Once you press Ctrl plus on your keyboard, it will actually add. If you look at now, I'm actually selecting more things. I can go minus or plus. So if I do this now, I can be able to select additional stuff here. So what I'm trying to do right now is that I want to select some of these parts and delete it so that I can be able to add a circle there. So I have something that looks like this. So here it's not looking so nice, but we're going to actually work on that. So over here we also have some vertices that we need to remove. So I'm going to select this vertex here and this edge here too, the edges. So let's check and be sure that all of them have been selected. There's a second one there. And press X, and when you press X on your keyboard, you go and select edge. So you want to delete the edge. There's another edge here. You can delete that particular edge. So you have this open right now. So now I'm going to get my 3D cursor and click in the center here, and I need to do something. So one of the things you could do is that you could make sure that we are trying to make sure this is it's in a circle form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from outside here. Click here, your 3D cursor, click here, and I'm going to be using a circle. So once you add a circle, if you look at what's happening, because we have a mirror modifier on this, like I told you, just go over here and remove this clipping for the meantime. I'll split them. All right, then I'm going to do RX90 to make it stand, and Z90 to make it to be this way. So now I need to make this to be like something that is going to be rounded. So I need to cut off a half of it and then bring them together. So in edit mode now, I'm going to try to select just half of this. So if you look at here, I can just press B on my keyboard and select exactly half of this thing here. So if you look at here, I've selected half of it. So you can just press X and delete all the edges. So, oh, sorry, selected the wrong thing. Let me do it again. Press L on this and move this out so we can be seeing it very well here. So I'm going to do that again. B, select and select just half of this here. Just try to get half of it. So if you didn't get all of it, you just manually hold your shift and select this. Now we have half of this, so you can just delete the edge. So I had to move it out because it was I mistakenly selected these ones here. So now you can be able to just drag this to come close, so you have something like this. So when you bring them together, you can be able to turn on your clipping now, and you have something that looks like this. So let's go on to scale it down. Just bring it up here, bring them together, scale, bring it together, scale. So as you're scaling, if you look at what it's doing there, so you have to scale it and then bring it together. That's the only way you can keep the roundedness of that shape. So bring it down, scaling, it will go this way, you bring it closer and it will be this way. So just be scaling S and move out. That's what you keep on doing until you get exactly what you're looking for. So now we can just push this back and we have something here. Now if you look at here, this is not blending in well with this one, so we're going to actually work on that later. So I'm just going to drop it somewhere here. Okay, so we have this here now, and I'm going to create this particular part. So now you have your edge selection mode, and you can be able to make sure this is working. Let's go close and see. Let's scale this out a bit. And make sure that this part X, and remove this edge that we are seeing that is sticking out here. This one edge, delete the edge too. Now we can just go press L over this L and we can select it all. So now I can be able to just do my E and lock it on the X-axis, and I have this part coming up now. So I have something like this, and then I can be able to do under E and then scale this inside. So you can just be doing the same thing, drag it in and scale it out. And then we're going to actually go inside. E, click to accept, and then you can drag it inside like this. I think this is much. Let's bring it out a bit. And then E again, and I'm going to drag it this way inside. And now I want to be able to have it come out. So I'm going to do another E. Just scale and move. That's what you do, because these things are, that's the way you can be able to maintain the roundedness of it. So I'm going to do another E now, and I'm going to lock it on the X-axis, drag it out a bit. So what we are trying to do is to get this part of the glass that is actually coming out here. So don't allow it to come out too much, so you can scale it in to go in a bit and move this in so that they become more rounded. Then E again to extrude it and scale in So once you start scaling, it will start doing this, and then you can push it in like this. But try to push it out like that, because that part is actually somehow curved. Then do another E and scale it in and push it in. For the last part, you can just press M on your keyboard. M for maintain. M, and it's not going to work because of the way that this thing is positioned. So what you're going to do, just scale it in until they come together as one. That's what you can be able to do. So if you look at now, this is what you're going to be having. So now coming to these parts of this, so we're going to stitch these things together. So enter back into your edit mode, and we're going to try to stitch this thing to this object here. So look at here, we'll have let's select here. If you look at over here, we can do something like this. We can be able to get this. Let me go in. So this is where you actually start having complicated things. We're trying to actually make sure that everything is going together, so we can be able to bring all of it together. Let me see. I think there is another one that is there. Select that one too. Push it up. So there is an overlap that we are experiencing there. So what I will do now is I'm going to just select this part and select this one here. And I'm going to press M and try to merge them at center and see what really happens there. Select this one too and do the same thing. M, merge them at center. Just pull them up like this. Then there are more. There is just select all of them, M again, and then merge at center. So it's going to be able to bring all of them all at the center. So if you have this issue, it's just a normal stuff that could happen. Now I have this, and I want to be able to start merging all this so that they actually go together. So I can put a loop cut somewhere here to make it easy for me to merge these ones. So I can select this and this one, press M and just merge at center. So if you look at now, I'm stitching it together and it's actually blending in more now. So I have this and this, press M, merge at center, and we'll have something like this. So let's look at all the things we have. We'll try to get the ones that can merge easily. So we'll have this one. Let's get this one and this one. M, merge at center. We can bring this one down. So remember that as you're doing this, is also happening over there. So that's the good part of this. So M, merge at center. This and this. So whenever you have any issue and you don't have something to merge with, you can always press Ctrl R and create a new loop cut to make it easy for you to, okay, like what we have here, and I can add a new loop cut here, select this one and this one. So it's best you do this. You can also use bridges loop, but we're going to be using merge at center for now. This will give us something more easily, something we can easily work with. Ctrl R. So just do that. And the goal why we're doing this way is because if you look at the thing, it actually flows into the shape. So we don't want it to actually look like it's not part of it. We want it to look like it's really part of it. M and merge at center. So we also have this one, merge at center. And this. It's necessary that you do it one by one. If you try to do it all at the same time, sometimes you might have some issues. So just do that. Let me see. Okay, here and here. Merge at center. And then we'll have something like this. If you look at here, I can select all this and try dragging them down a bit more like this. So if you look at here, we'll have some overlapping things. So we can be able to just go from here. So if you look at now navigating, so you really need to learn how to navigate properly. So over here, we'll have this issue here of multiple things. I can turn on my X-ray, and if you look at the X-ray, you can be able to see inside. Let me turn it off. It's giving me more than I need. I can select all this and try dragging it down like this. There is more, drag them down, select more, there is more, you keep dragging them down. So if you look at now, we'll have multiple, just like we had at the top of it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to check the ones that I will have here. So I think I need to add I have 2 extra ones, so I'm going to press Ctrl R and just put a loop cut here, and then I will do the same thing I did at the top. From here, select this one and that one, merge at center, select that one again, and then merge at center, and this one, the last one there, let me make sure that I'm selecting the right thing so it doesn't overlap. And push this down. So here might look a bit complicated, but it's not. Merge a center, select that one, and also select it, merge a center. So we'll have all this merge a center now. So we'll select this one too, and I have this one and this one here, merge a center, and then select this one and this one and merge at center, to merge at center. So right now we'll have something that looks like this. So let's check and be sure that everything that we have is working fine. So we can select this one now and we can pull it down now. If you look at here, we can now begin to give the rounded shape. So because the meshes now are joined together, so that's just the hard work we had to do there. So you can always go back to adjust anything you want to adjust. So if you look at now, it's much more rounded, and if you turn on your this thing, you actually see that it actually gives you that rounded your subdivision. It gives you that rounded thing around it down. So we have that now. Let's turn off this again and go back to what we're doing. So right now we have something very close. I think I even want it to be a bit bigger, but I think it's quite cool for this size for now. So now the next thing we want to be able to do is to go in to finish up this tires that we actually have here. So the tires here, so we're going to just come in here and we have, first I'm going to start with this part. So remember I told you everything we're going to be doing in edit mode, that's how we're going to be doing that. So it's going to be easy for us to do it on one side and have it actually appear on the other side. So I'm putting my 3D cursor here and I'm going to get a 3D cursor somewhere here. Get a cylinder. We're going to be using a cylinder this time around. If you don't want to use a cylinder, you can use a circle. So I'm going to be using a cylinder, and this cylinder I'm going to scale it down. And if you remember, whenever you do that, remember to separate. You see that if you separate, they are joined together. So make sure that whenever you add it, go turn off your clipping. This is a very important skill. If you forget it, sometimes you have a very scary looking shape. Look at what it has distorted our shape already. So we're going to actually remove that. But let me just Ctrl Z and go back. So we're going to do that again. Shift and cylinder and turn off. Okay, our clipping is already turned off, so we just scale it down and just bring it out. So it's now okay now. So we can just scale this down and try to move this, scale it up as much as we can for now. So we'll have something like this. Scale. Yes, so we're going for this particular one first. That's what we're going for now. So it's going to be going in somewhere there. So just scale, extrude it a bit. Let's try rotating. So I'm going to try R, Y, and let me try 45 degrees. So you have something like this. So now the problem you're going to have is that you put it there and maybe it's not coming to that particular size that you want. So you can either scale it up or you can change your axis to, you try your local. If your local is not putting the axis very well, you can try your normal. So normal will give you a better orientation for your axis. So look at now, I have this and I can scale it up like this. If you're using your normal global, it's not going to be working fine, so you have to bear that in mind. So just scale this up a bit more, and this actually goes in more on that part. Let's just use this to actually drag this in here. Okay, so we'll have something that looks like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my global now and try to make sure that everything is actually working fine. So if you see, whatever I do over here is also happening on the other side too. So now I will go ahead to get the extrusion for this one. So let me go into the tire. So for the tire itself, I'm going to be doing some very stylish things here. So I'm going to just come in here and try to work on some few things. So I'm going to get this tire here. So from here, I'm going to use my alt, hold down alt, and click on this round part. So to get the entire loop, you understand? If you don't know how to do that, it's just like getting an entire loop. You hold down alt and just click at one of the edges around here, and it will select the entire edges that around it. So once you do that, what you need to do now is we can be able to start extruding it. So I will try to do this way. Press Shift D to duplicate it so that there is a separate object on its own. Okay. So now, so that when I want to move it out, if I need to remove it from there, I can actually do that. So now I've removed it. It's now a different object. So I'll press E now, and I can pull it out like this. So what I'm aiming for is to create something a bit more like what you're seeing here. So now, let me just push this in a bit and scale out a bit. E, drag it out. E, click and scale it in, something like that. Now I might not get exactly all the things there. Then E, lock it on the y-axis, pull it out, and then I'm going to do another E and click to accept it, S to scale it in. So I have something like this. I'm going to now pull it out a bit more like that. So other things, you have other complicated stuff that are there. So but what I'm going to do, I'm going to ignore the thing that is passing through this place. I'm just going to imagine that something is passing through this rod, and you don't have the part where you have the thing that looks like a bowl. So we can be able to just do S, E to extrude, click to accept it, then S to scale it out, and then again you're going to just do E, click to accept, and then scale it out there. And we can try to complete it by pressing E, click to accept, S to scale it in. So we'll have something like this. Now here we can do M and just merge it at center. We can do that here. Okay, we'll have a problem there. It's going to give us some issues. So I'm going to do E again, click to accept, scale it in one more time before we now do M and then merge it at center. So it's going to be, so you just need to add an extra extrusion before you merge it. That's what's going to make it to look a bit better. So we'll have something like this now. And now we can be able to select this one and push it down. So we can just have something like that. So this is what we actually have. If you need this to actually go in more, you can actually select it from here. Let's select it with the vertex, this point here, and we can use our Control Plus and just get additional selection, and we can just push this down a bit more like this to go back to join it there. So we'll have something that looks like that. So I think there is actually a hole here, so I just saw this now. So I'm just going to go back, enter in here, and I'm going to select this top part with my face selection mode. I think I'm going to start with vertex because it has a vertex there. Control plus to select the entire face, and I'm going to press E to extrude this inside like that. And then when you extrude the first time, please extrude the second time. Click E again and then scale it inside. So this will give you more geometry so that it doesn't begin to act funny here, especially when you add your subdivision modifiers. So right now we'll have something that looks like this. Then I think we'll have something else over here. There are a lot of things we actually have. So I'm going to just do something here to, make it a bit better. So I'm going to do Shift D again on this one. Hold down, press Z to lock it on the Z axis. And I'm going to change this to my normal, and I will try to scale this out like this and try to scale this down like this. I know this is going to be a bit what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change, let me change this to my view. The normal is already complicated, so I might need to, okay, let's just scale it down a bit like that. So the more you scale it down, sometimes the normals begin to malfunction. So but we're going to actually work with it like that. Or I think one of the solutions we can use is that we can be able to add a different one that is not compromised yet. So let's add a new cylinder and just scale it down like that. Just scale it down. Let's remember to turn on back our clipping in case we actually forget. So we can just do that. So let's just scale it up first like that. So this one is actually somewhere, let me see where it actually is hanging, somewhere over there at the top there, but I can't see the details. So but I'm going to assume that it's somewhere there. Let's scale this down. Okay, I think this is okay. So we're going to rotate it on the X. Let me go back to my global. Let's rotate it on the Y axis, R, Y, and rotate it on the Y axis like this, so that we can be able to push it in a bit more and scale it down a bit more like that. So we'll have this here now. So I think we need to also rotate on the Z axis to make it something like that, and push it inside and make sure it's not touching the tire, so it actually looks more realistic. So we'll have something like this. RY, and just bring it close to this one. So we'll have something that looks like that. So that's what we actually have. And I think that's all for that for now. We're going to leave all the details that we are seeing there, and let's finish up with these other ones for now. So at this back part, we have something that looks like this. Let me shift this a bit so I'll be seeing it here. So we'll have something that is going like this, and then you have the rounded part is actually going round like this. So if you actually go select this guy, okay, so we'll have this one, and we can select here, and I'm going to see this shape here, select here and here, make sure you're selecting the right things. Okay, so I have this here now, and I would like to scale it up a bit like this, and when I scale it up, I would like to drag it out. Oh, Better still, move these ones inside so that they stop overlapping with the shape that I have here. So I have something that looks like this. I can pull this one down. So you can pull this out, and we are aiming for the tire. So let's see where the tire really is. So we'll have this here. I'm going to just pull this to this place, and I think the tire needs to also enter inside. So don't worry about the way it's looking. That's not so important right now. We can actually use a boolean. It's what we call a boolean to actually hide that part, to create a hole inside there. But for now, it's actually hidden, so it doesn't really matter so much. So we're going to be creating something like this. So I think this part should go inside. I didn't know why this was extruded out so much. This is meant to be the backlight. So for whatever reason I extruded it. I just noticed it now. It's meant to be inside like that. So we'll have something like that. So we'll have this. So I think we need to also make this one a bit bigger. So we can select L to be selecting all this. Just bring your mouse over them and be pressing L. So we need to scale this out this way so that we can be able to push this a bit much more backwards like this. Okay, so we'll have this now, and we can be able to create let me see what else we need to create here. Okay, I think this is okay. So we'll have this, and we can be able to bring this one a bit backwards and select these parts. Now, something that, what we did over here, we don't exactly need to do it here because this part is actually covered. So we can be able to just focus on bring this one up a bit more here and creating this part that covers this tire here. So I'm going to just select here, enter into my edge selection mode. I'm going to pull this one back a bit this way, and now I'm going to create a rounded part here. So if you want to create something rounded, there are several ways. Let's use this technique. We'll press E, click to drag, so we can be able to start. That might not give us exactly a rounded part, but it's going to try to give us something good. Let me just push this backwards like this, and we're going to be using a scale to scale it down a bit like this. So just press Ctrl R. Let me create a new one here. Let's push this up like this. Let me bring this one backwards and put this one up like that. So I'm aiming for this round part. E again, E, click to accept, drag it, and I would also like to scale it up. I think I need to bring this one to this side so that I'm seeing it easily. So reference is very important when you're doing designs like this. So if you have a concept art someone wants you to do for them, you will need a reference or a sketch. Click enter, or you click to accept it, and then you can just I think I need to even scale out more. So even if it's not the way you want it, just don't worry about that. We're going to shorten it later. So we are trying to get the rounded part. E now, drag it out. Let's start bringing it together now. E again, you can lock it on the x-axis, bring it down. E, X, bring it down. E, X, move, bring it down. So we'll have something like this. Now it might not give you something very perfect, so but you can now begin to manually begin to change it the way you want it to be. So if there's a place that you need to add another loop cut, you can always add another loop cut and adjust it. So here we need to curve this part more. So if you look at here, I'm going to just push this in very well, and this one I'm going to, in fact, I think I'm going to delete some parts here. Delete the face. I think I need to delete this face too, and focus on this one, this edge here, and just scale it in like this. But then we need to also make here to be a bit curved like that. So we'll have something that looks like this. So if you actually go turn on your thing here, you actually see that it's going to give you something a bit more rounded. So let's work on it this way and see if we could actually make it to be as rounded as possible. So we'll have something like this, and then over here we don't like this pointedness of this part, so I'm going to select here and I'm going to press let me use the vertexes. Select this vertex and this vertex. I'm going to press M and merge them at center, so we just have a single point there. So right now it's much more curved than before, so this is what we are going to be having now. So with this I can be able to select this part. Let me see the things we could do. So if you look at here, we can be able to start extruding, but the problem is that the extrusion will not be able to work well for us. So we need to actually play some tricks on this for it to be able to work. So let me make you understand what I mean. If we're extruding, let me just come in here and select with my C select. Let me use my face. And if I use my C select, if I press C on my keyboard, I can select all these here. Okay, so you can't come and start extruding like this. It will give it an extra protrusion, okay, because this thing actually goes this way, all right, and they are all together. So what you need to do is you need to actually pull this out this way and then start coming back, because the extrusion has to be inside. So let's see and hope that it doesn't really malfunction. Let's do E, and okay, it's actually malfunctioning. It's putting it inside. So what we could do is that we're going to do, let's start first with selecting the edges. We're going to start with the edges. Select these edges here at the top here. Let's try Alt click, hold Shift and Alt and click, and hold Shift and Alt and click. So we'll have all of this selected. So we can just pull it out like this. Now I need to select only this part. This is the only part I actually want to select. So I'm going to use my let me just, I think I have to select one by one for it to be easily adjustable. So all I need to extrude is this part of my bike. This part, this is where I want to extrude. So I'm just going to come in here and put a loop cut somewhere here. And I'm going to select here this part, this hold Alt and just select, I think this part is loose, and this one, and then use this manually. Let me make sure, oh, this one is also selected automatically. I need to select only one by one. Ctrl Z. So I'm holding shift as I'm doing this, and I will try to extrude this now, and just go this way. I should lock it on the y-axis, and you see I have this, so it's not going to give me that uh, problem that I actually had the last time. So I can just scale this out like this. So I have something that looks like that. To make it to blend in with this one, I can just pull it like this, so that I have something that looks like this. All right, so once I do that, let me try adjusting this to get a bit closer to the tires, and I have something that looks a bit more like that. Let me see what it looks like. Okay, I think this is okay. So we'll have something that looks like this. So the edges that are here, I can't see them, but I'm going to assume some things, and I'm going to do a bit of I'm going to improvise here. So I'm going to just try to create something that I think should be there. So for example, I'm going to just select here my face selection, and I'm going to try to do click to accept. I'm going to scale this inside and try to create some kind of projection here, something that is close to that. Click to accept, scale it in a bit like this. I'm going to just drag it in a tiny bit, then again, click to accept, scale it in, and then press again and just bring this out, something like that. So I'm just trying to create some kind of variation and design over there. So just something that looks a bit more like that. So all those holes, you can actually create them. If you just come into somewhere here, you can actually create some loop cuts somewhere here and put another loop cut somewhere here, and we can select here and just try doing click to accept, S to scale in, and then do something like move it inside a bit, accept it, then again, scale it in to actually create a space. I'm trying to create a space in between here, then again, and move it out like this. So if you have something that looks like that, you actually see that it's going to actually appear as a circle like that. So the same thing is what you could do to all these things. You can select all this. Now I want to do this on this one, and I think let me do it on this and on this. So I want to be able to scale them to have this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do, if you want to scale two things at once, you can actually use your pivot points. So you can, by default, is usually on medium point. Okay, so I'm going to do individual origin. When I do individual origin, it's going to be able to scale things in different in two faces, in two different faces all at once. So if I do now and move, see now I can be able to move down like that. Click to accept, S to scaling, is doing the same thing for both of them, but at different, everybody is being centered on their own. Then again, I'm going to come out a bit like this, like that. So let me just push it back a bit like that. Come back here and you see that you have something that looks a bit more, although this one is actually bigger. All right, so if you want it to be smaller, you can actually go in fact, I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Control plus, control plus, control plus, and I'm going to S to scale it in to make it a bit smaller. So I'm going to have something like that. So immediately remember to change this back to medium point so that you don't have any issues. So we have something like this. Then for me to be able to, I want to just create some kind of thing that will make it look like this is actually connected to this. So I'm just going to select here and here and here, and I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate it so that I don't tamper with this face here. If you extrude it, it will actually tamper with the face here. So I just duplicated it, and this is not seen. I'm just imagining this one I'm seeing right now. So I'm just going to do just something there. So just scale out and try to connect it to this. So this is just my imagination here. So I have something that looks like that. So right now we have a very simple stuff that looks like that. So we'll have this, press L on this and push this inside so that it doesn't just hang out there. So if there is some other thing that we need to add, I think we can just get this guy. I think over here we need to get this one and turn on our proportion editing. If you remember proportion editing, we can just pull this out a bit so that let's scroll back so that our influence will increase. So we'll have more influence here. So we'll have something like this. So we'll have it, and then also this part, I think here needs to actually bulge out more. This part, I'm going to just pull this out a bit more. I think the bottom part is what needs to come out. Make sure you are selecting the key parts so that it doesn't really give you some issues later. So we'll have something like this. So just be controlling this. If you're controlling, you see that it's going to be having a different effect. So this is more like an artistic thing you do. So you just have something like this. So once you do that, you have a more interesting object here. So for this thing here, we're going to just create it. So there are several ways you could do this. You could actually select, but I'm going to actually select this part here, and let's see if we can use a subdivision. Control R, I'm going to create a subdivision somewhere here, create another one somewhere down here. So, and then create another one somewhere, I think 2 here. Just move your mouse forward, your mouse scroll, you just scroll it forward, and then you can click 2. So right now I want to be able to, the reason why I did that is that, please, if you do this, sometimes it's going to affect what you're doing. Let me just turn off this. So let's be sure it's not affecting at the top. See here is disfiguring some things there. So one of the things you could do is just create a new one here and just move it closer. So what we're trying to do now is that we're trying to create a loop cut that we can select here, 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 and also select here, here, and here. I think we need to cut somewhere here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's do Control R, put another loop cut. So whenever you're doing this, you're just using imagination to imagine lines you're trying to create, to select, to determine the object as a part of the object you actually want to make into a shape, because you're trying to create this kind of line now. So I'm going to select this, hold shift, select this, select that, this one, this, this. So we'll have something that looks like this. So if you need it to also come down more, you can actually do that. So but for now, I'm going to, let me see if it's going inside. Okay, I think it's going inside. I think I'm going to add one more here so that it's going to come a bit more closer to this part. So we'll have this now, and we can just do a bit of E and just push it inside. Now I'm going to start with the materials soon enough. So but before I do that, I'm just going to come out from here, and you see you have something that looks like this. I think I need to even go a bit more. Press another E again and scale it inside and just push it a bit more inside like that, just to make the dent to be obvious, just something like that. So if you have something like this that is not curved enough, you can actually go there and try to adjust the edges. So you can select these edges and try to adjust them to somewhere like that. Just adjust them to be a bit curved like that, and you're going to have a more curved edge. Okay, so we'll have this here now, and I think that's the major thing that we need. I think the only thing we didn't add is this shape that is here, which is not very clear to us. So, and then lastly, okay, we'll have this stand here. So let's just add a stand, and I think we was just going to get let's just select this here, enter into edit mode, use our 3D cursor, click somewhere here, and just shift. Remember to turn off your clipping, shift, and add. I'm gonna use a cylinder here too. Just scale it down. Oh, I think I'm very far. Let me do that again. 3D cursor, click it somewhere here so that you be sure it's in the right place, and then cylinder, and you have that. So you can just scale it down, and we have this coming down to this part. So wherever that is appearing, we just put it somewhere inside there. If you're doing a real machine design, that's where you start paying attention to size and precision. But if you're doing a concept art, you don't have to actually pay attention to that too much. Let's just scale it. I think it should be a bit thinner, and I can just select this and just pull it down like that. And we need to actually stretch it, just drag it to actually have that balance, and then E to extrude it a bit and scale it out. I'm going to do something like that, and then E to bring it down a bit like that. So with this, we have something that looks like this. So we need to also bring it down more so that it actually gets to balance. So let me just put a plane, Shift A in my object mode, Shift A. Please don't add any extra object you don't want to interact with this in edit mode. Please go back to object mode. Okay, just press Shift A and then add this. So I'm going to just put this under it like this. So I'm doing this so that it will help me to know where this thing should stop. So I have this. So if you look at here at the top, it's doing something. So I'm just going to press L over this. Let me turn on my clipping back again. So just bring this down. I think I need to scale it up like this. So let's see what is happening. Let's bring this. If you look at this happening here, it's because of the subdivision modifier. So to solve it, just press Ctrl R and put a loop cut somewhere here, and just drag it to the top there, and it will stop that. And I think we also need to put another loop cut somewhere here. So we'll have something like this. So I think we need to L on this and scale it down more, a bit more like this, and push this up. Let's let this floor and bring it up again. Let me turn off these things here so that we actually know if we're actually touching the floor. So if you look at what is happening here, okay, I think we have some issues here that we need to solve. This guy needs to come down a bit more, and probably to the back like that, and this one needs to go up. Let's select here and let's bring this back, L over here, and let's take it back to this point. We have to select this and this too, and push them back like that. Just take them up a bit like that, and then this one, push it inside. Let's see if they're still not aligning. So we need to align them. I think that's a problem that we didn't fix on time. So let's just see who is going to become smaller. I think we need to bring this down a bit. Let's just bring this one down a bit more. Then we'll have this. Okay, so we'll have this here now. Okay, so we'll have something like this. So if you look at here, we'll have a problem over here. So one way we could solve this is we can just simply come in here, press L over this, and I think we need to just select a part of this and bring it down. Let me see how we can do that. Press this L here. Let me see. So these are problems that we didn't see on time, so but we could actually work around it. Let me just pull this back inside and try to figure out a way of being able to bring this one up. I think that would be the easiest thing for us. Let me adjust this first to that scale of the way we have built it. So we'll have this. So let's see, we can select this part, L, 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 and then L here, and I'm going to use my middle mouse button, turn on this X-ray, and I'm going to deselect everything here. So sometimes this could actually affect your work, so but we're going to do it carefully. So we can push this back and then try to adjust this to suit this part. So that's the cool thing about 3D. You can literally make things malleable. So you could actually make them to suit what you want them to be. So also, I think we forgot something at the top there. So also remember these parts, L over here. Don't forget any parts. If you forget any parts, that's where you might have some issues. Let's do that again. C, deselect. Make sure your X-ray is turned on. If X-ray is not turned on, it might not deselect all the parts that are here. So you need to deselect all of them, so that when you're moving this, let's turn off this so you see what's really happening. So we have selected everything that is from the top, from the front here, because we need to adjust this front. So we need to get this up and get this a bit backwards like that. So we also need to check on this one, G, Z, G, Y, or GX. So we'll have something that looks like this. So now we have okay, and we have a problem here. So we can adjust its control. Just put your thing here. It's okay now. Get this, Control R, put a loop cut here, Control R, put a loop cut over here. You have this working fine. And then this one to L, and just push it out a bit like this. And then we can select this and just push it forward a bit like that. We can just quickly adjust this one a bit, these two, just adjust them like that. Okay, so I think we'll have something that looks a bit decent. So let's jump into the texturing part. I don't think we can do the texturing part today. Let me see. I would like us to finish up this project today. So the texturing is actually very simple. So we're going to just go on to finish it up because it's not something very complex. So I'm entering into my render mode, and once you enter into your render mode, let me just select this part, and this is my render view port shading. Now one of the things you need to turn on, go into your render, because you're using the EV render. So go into this render properties, and we'll just do ambient, bloom, and this. If you're using the newer versions of Blender, just turn on the ray tracing, and that will be enough. So now I can just select this here, and I'm going to go into my materials. Right now I just have only one material, so you can just click on new material, and I'm going to call this my scooter. So for this scooter, the color of the scooter is actually an ash color, so we can actually make it a bit metallic like this. So now we need to get this light. Look at this light that we'll have here. I'm going to bring this light in front of here so you actually see the effect of the thing that we're actually doing. So we'll have this here. Okay, so we'll have that there. Then we have this one, these edges that are glowing. Let's start with that. So we can add multiple materials to a particular object. So for example, the tires, let's add the black tires. So we just click on this. Let's just call it and then we can make this to be a black color. So remember, we duplicated this and we made this a fashion that they are linked. We did Alt D instead of Shift D, so that you see that anything I do here will affect this one. Now for this inner part of it, I would like to use something different. So I'm going to create a new material here. That would be, let me just call it the wheel. And enter here. I'm going to press L over this part. Sorry, inside here, L. Okay, so if you press L over this, you see it selects just this one inside it. And we can just assign this and we'll have a different thing here. Let's increase the metallic. And if you want it to be more shiny, you can just go to roughness and bring it down. But be careful when you're using that so it doesn't become too shiny. So we'll have something that looks like that. Make sure you save it. And over here we'll have this part. I think I'm going to make this part here. Oh, our thing that we did over here has appeared when we're actually adjusting this, so we're going to come back to that later. So over here we'll have, let's add a new material here. I'm selecting the scooter now. So for the scooter, I'm going to create this. I'm going to call it the glow. Come in here now, and I'm going to have over here, just use your face selection mode. Select here, here, here. Exactly all the points I created already. So everything has to be in edit mode. And apply this glow. So if you want to apply a glow material, if you look at how I'm creating new materials, I'm having multiple materials on a particular object. So if you look at this glow material I have here, I've added it. Now to change this, by default we always have the principal shader as the default materials that the default shader we have. I'll be talking about materials in another topic in more details. So that's what we call the emission material. That's for making glowing materials. If you want a material that is glowing, so you can actually use that. So over here I think there is a part that we didn't select, so select it and in edit mode and click on assign. Oh sorry, go back to glow, assign. So now that we have that, I think there is another part that is not selected. Let me still go back there, hold shift, assign. So it's working fine now. There's a problem actually there, so we're going to go back to solve it. So I'm going to just change this to a sort of blue color, and you can increase the strength of that glue by doing this. So if you want to solve that problem, let me just come in here and select here, and I'm going to use my proportional editing to try to scale it down. Let me try scaling it down like this. Scale it down, scroll down, and we'll still have that problem. Let me see why it's doing that. Control A, apply the scale. Okay, let me see. I think the reason is because it's actually happening outside instead of inside. I selected the wrong thing here. So select here, please. and take it back to Scooter. Yep. And we have this part too. Let's take it back to Scooter. The reason is because we didn't extrude this one inside like we did these ones. So that's the reason why it's doing that. So I'm just going to take it back to Scooter for now so that we don't have to go back to start redoing everything. I think this is okay for us for now. So we'll have something that looks like this. Then the edge here, I can be able to select here, and I will try selecting this part. So I'm going to use Alt. When I'm selecting my Alt, I'm going to hold Alt and select in the middle of this. So this will select almost everything on this part. So let me see how far it goes. Oh, that is not exactly what I'm looking for. So I want you to select from here, hold Shift and select this one too. In the center here, don't select here. If you select here, it's going to select it horizontally like this. So just select in the middle where you have the edge. But make sure you're selecting the face. So once you do it this way, let's do that again. For some reason it's not more selecting, so I think I have to do it manually. I hope this is not hanging. Let's do that again. Okay, I think this is okay. Let's select just this one only. So this outside one here, and then we'll have this. So let's see if it's selecting all the edges outside. Yes, it's selecting all the edges outside, and it stops somewhere there. So we're going to hold our, press our C, hold it down the middle mouse button and deselect this part. I'm using my mouse to do this, so I can select this part now and add it as part of it. That's what I would like to do here. And now I can, yes, add my glue on it. So right now we'll have something that looks like this. For this one, we're going to also add another one, which is actually let's call it the handle. And then come in here, press L over this and just apply that, and you can go over here and change it to black. Click there and change that to black color, and I like it to be a bit shiny, so I will make it a bit, just a tiny bit metallic, and reduce roughness just a tiny bit like that. Now for this glue material here, this guy over here, we need to add some variations here. So we need to select here, and I'm going to use my vertex and select this point at the center here. Then when I select these points at the center, I think we didn't even make it as points, so I think I made it as a face. So let me see if I select, I think I'm going to use my C selection to select here. So press C and just select everything here, and then I can press plus on my keyboard and plus again on my keyboard, so I have selected all these parts here. So there are several things. If you look at here is glass, but then there is light inside it. So but you could, if you're going to use this as, depending on the kind of thing you're doing, but for this sake I'm going to just make it a glowing material only. That's what I'm going, and it's going to be a different glow from this one here. So I'm going to just call this my headlamp. Normally headlamps are usually glass, while you have a light emitter inside it. So I'm going to call it my headlamp. Okay, so we'll have that there and just assign it to it. So right now we'll have something that looks like that, and I can just go in here and change it to my emission, but the emission is going to be a different color, and you can actually increase that to whatever color you want it to be. If you feel like it's too small, we can always be able to expand it to be a bit bigger. I actually think it's quite a bit smaller. And another thing about this is that here we need to push this backwards like this. Select here, L2 here, and then this other one, the brake part, L. I think the brake part is actually hiding. Remove your proportion editing and let's push this to the back here. Yep. So, and let's try extruding it, scaling it up a bit, just a tiny bit, and just bring it up like that. Okay, so we'll have something like that, and this part that is hiding, these are our parts. These are a brick that is hiding. Let's push it the right place it's meant to be. So when you actually have complicated design, sometimes you might forget some part of it. So those things could actually happen. So you just have to pay attention properly. So we'll have something that looks like this now. You see, we'll still have a problem that we just created now. So we can just scale this out this way so that it goes back to the rounded nature that it had before. Okay, so I think this is okay now, and it's good now. So every other thing we can be able to fix. And you see I have a problem coming up here again. So the glue went out for whatever reason. So I don't know reason why it did that. So but we're going to go back to select it, alt select, and glue, apply. C, select, remove this and that, glue. So assign that, and we have something that looks like this. So for the floor, we can just let's leave the floor for the meantime. So let me see whatever thing. Okay, the backlight here. So put the backlight, create a new one, a new material. Let's call it the backlight. Enter that and press L over this to select it. Make sure you're selecting only that. And select the backlight, assign it, and we're going to change this to a glowing material emission. And now we can be able to put just like a red color and just increase the glow on it. So we'll have something that looks like this. For the floor, I would like to give it some kind of color. So let me just change the color to something like that. I think our reference has a sort of that color. And you see that once we have a darker background, our design starts coming out even more. So let's make sure that everything is going together. So the last thing I want to do here is to parent this. So I'll select this, hold shift, select this one, hold shift, select this as the last thing. The last thing I'm going to select is the main this particular scooter. So I'm going to press Ctrl P and I'm going to set parenting. So I'll say keep transform. This means that whenever I move this one now, the tires move with it. So that's the goal here. So you can just bring this up. I want to press A to select everything and just drag it up so that I will stop interfering with that grid system down there. So we'll have this last, and I think I also need to use this press L over this one and use the same handle for this part here. And let's look at the back here and see that everything is working out fine. I think this part also needs to have that wheel on it. Okay, I think it already has. And for some reason our light turned off at the back. Let's make sure our backlight is turning on well. So sometimes if you don't deselect what you selected before, sometimes you could do this. So make sure you're selecting only what you want to select at a time. So I have this now. So over here we'll have the top here. This is our seat. So let's also get our seats. I think that will even make our design look more interesting. So let's call it the seat. Enter here and I can press L to select just the seat. And this is the reason why we always try to make everything different, so that when we try to, we can reduce its roughness to make it a bit shiny. So when we try to, affect one thing at a time, it will actually be different from the other one, so it won't be interrupting. So we'll have this here now. So we'll have something that looks like this. If you go on to change, let's say for example, we can bring down this light in the background. Let's bring down the lights, and you can be able to have a very nice kind of background. Let me just do something close to the sky there. So basically this is how you can be able to model a simple sci-fi scooter, and we can just push this out and we have a very simple design that we have, and everything we did the other side is also affecting this other side here. So that's all we can, and next time we're going to be animating this and creating a very nice looking road for it.